Hey y'all, it's your girl DJ Miss So Fine, ain't I? Welcome to Unfiltered. Uh, Lord, I can't even talk today. Unfiltered and real, real and unfiltered, however you want to say it. Welcome to today's show. Y'all know I'm speaking everything into existence, so y'all gotta bear with me. You gotta have that faith that's like make people think you crazy. I'm gonna have my own podcast one day, so y'all gotta bear with me and start with me from the bottom. How y'all been? This is like the seventh day of the new year, and I'm excited to be amongst the living. Um, let's just get right into it. Today's live is the power of being real. The power of being real. It is just what it is. Um, But I got some feedback from my other show, and my mom was taking a look at it, and it was talking about the power of the struggle, the beauty. I'm sorry, not the power, the beauty and struggle. And I talked a little bit about being authentic and authenticity. And she told me, Jay, not everybody knows what that means. So when you go live again, make sure you touch on the subject of or give the definition of the term authentic. What does authenticity mean? And I did my due diligence because I do like to research or whatever. But I know authentic or authenticity can mean different things to different people. But it's really just being honest, being unfiltered, being raw, being unapologetic about you, showing the world you, giving the world you. Now, I've said this on my first show that you're going to see the bad, you're going to see the good, you're going to see the ugly, you're going to see the beauty of me struggling to make it to the top. And it's beauty in the struggle, right? It is. So, on today's topic, we're going to talk about the power of being real. And being real is just raw. It's it's having people think that you crazy because they live in a bubble, but you choose to live in a bubble, but you probably have water. You're probably living on water. You're probably living in just in a different the same thing, but just different things with that other person or whatever. And I've always chose to be authentic. Now I ain't never said that I ain't never lie. I ain't never say I ain't never steal. I ain't never say I ain't never scam. Like that's just Janice. And to just give you a little bit of background, growing up, like my brother, God bless the dead, my brother passed away or was murdered almost 3 years ago. And we grew up in a house where our dad he was prior military, but he had some habits of drug use. And we would be like drill sergeants, I'm sorry, not drill sergeants, but cadets, because he was a drill sergeant. So everything had to be clean. And I also referenced that in the book that I told you guys that I'm going to be releasing hopefully around my brother's birthday. If not, it's going to be this year. Definitely, it's going to be this year. But to just give a bit of a background, um, everything had to be like clean. Everything had to be clean around the house because my daddy would think that it was crack cocaine. So with just being authentic, to reference authenticity, um, we had to have everything clean, and to the point where if it wasn't clean, my daddy would beat us. Like he would beat us, and we were literally scared of him. Like you know how they say you're supposed to fear no man but God. No, we feared him too. We feared Stephen. So when when we were growing up, we would just we would do things. We had the house clean. We had our daily chores. We had that when my mom went to work like the man, like the strong woman that she is. If you know my mom, you know that she's a strong human being. Um, but my daddy, man, it was to the point. This is where authenticity came in, or me being honest. Um, my daddy, this was around. This was before that situation happened to where I talked about in the book. You know, being sexually molested, and I say that freely. If you know somebody that has suffered abuse or has been raped or has had similar backgrounds, please tell your story. Please tell your story. But anyways, I can laugh today because the hurt was rewarding. Y'all see your girl. But anyways, let me get to the point. Um, so everything had to be clean. And I remember my dad, this was when we were living in the shores. I remember my dad, we would always try to like go to church. My mama would be going to church with one of her friends, and we get dressed up too to try to go to church or whatever. And my daddy was sitting in there, laid up in the house like always, while my mom went to work. And I just want to give y'all too a little story too about that. My mom and dad were not together, but my mom and dad were always friends. Like they had been friends for years. Always been friends. My mama will always, you know, look out for my dad. So they just had that type of friendship. And I think that just because two people are no longer together does not mean you guys can't be friends. Um, you did make it in a relationship, but that doesn't mean you have to like just, you know, fall out or whatever. But they were friends. So my mom will always be going to church. And we want to go too, because nobody wanted to stay home with Steven. So one day we go get ready or whatever, and my dad stops us one by one. We're going by, walking by him because he was sitting on the couch in the living room, and he said, "Why y'all go to church?" Me, I was lying. Like I was like, you know, to just get a word. I don't know what I said at the time. I was like 10, I think 9 or 10 years old, and then he was like, "Why y'all go to church?" So I was like telling a lie, and then I said, "You know what? To get away from you." That was the start, y'all, of me being honest, me being truthful, me being real. And now I have to give credit where it's due because my dad did what he did. Don't get me wrong, to me. And that's something that I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. But he instilled being truthful, being honest in me. So that's why today I wanted to talk about and touch on the subject of authenticity. Authenticity can be defined as authentic refers to being genuine, real, and true to oneself or to a particular standard. It embodies qualities of honesty, integrity, and originality without pretense, imitation, or false representation. Something authentic is credible, trustworthy, and aligned with its true essence or purpose. For people, being authentic means embracing who they truly are, expressing thoughts, feelings, and values sincerely, and living in a way that aligns with your inner truth. I have to be me. Like I said, y'all earlier, I have scammed, I've lied, I've cheated, I've done things that at the time I wasn't proud of, but that's survival mode, you know. Um, but I've always tried to be true to who I am. And it took some time and it took years of me going through things, being around people, being around, going to places, and just, seeing people live inside a bubble, people not being true to themselves or who they are or what they want in life. I've always tried to be authentic as authentic as possible. And some of my struggles came early on with when I remember when I first got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I would joke about it because I didn't know where all these mood swings were coming from. Like growing up, being a sexual assault victim or a sexual assault survivor, sexual abuse survivor, people will look at you some kind of way if you even say back then, like 13, 14, 15 years ago, if you even just growing up in the damn 80s, people will look at you some kind of way if you said that you had depression, if you had PTSD, if you had ADHD, um, if you had anything that had to do with your mental, people will look at you crazy because they thought that it only existed with white people. No, it's a lot of us, black people, that have been sexually abused or domestically abused or just abused, period, in general, that we were just taught to just let that just be, for white people. No, we have it too. And I remember, like, I'm not knowing where all these mood swings were coming up, coming from, and I would just get moody and not want to be bothered for no fucking reason at all. And then when somebody would call me out or a friend of mine would call me out, I'm like, girl, I'm just playing. Because, you get those stares or you get those side eyes or you get those, funny looks because it wasn't talked about. It was swept up under the rug. But I'm here to tell y'all, listen, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder back in 2022. And I'm no longer ashamed about it. I used to take medication for it. I used to go to a therapy, and I do still see a therapist, from time to time. But since then, I have been off medication because everything starts with your mind. That's the power of being real. I have to reference this title because it's the truth. That's the power of being real. I no longer apologize for having mood swings. I no longer apologize for being honest. I no longer apologize for my past because my past is what defines me and why I am sitting before you guys today. Be real. Be unapologetically you because can't nobody be you but you. I want to take time to um just say that, going back about being a sexual abuse survivor, my past does not define who I am now. It didn't define who I am now. Because who you see before you now, 2025, Janice, this girl done been through some shit. I've been through some shit. But I want to take time out to say, if you did suffer with that as a child, as an adult, or what have you, please come forth and tell your story. Please reach out for help. There's nothing wrong with therapy. There's nothing wrong with talking to somebody that's going to be real and truthful with you. Because sometimes, we are the problem. Sometimes we get in our own way. Sometimes we self-sabotage. Sometimes we overthink things. But just be real. Be real. Come forth, tell your story. You're going to help somebody else. You're going to save somebody else's life. Um, you know, I hope that this helps. I hope my podcast helps somebody because I know it will. I know it will. Um, but I hope I didn't skip all over the place. But I just wanted to give y'all just a little, backstory of how I became to be an honest person. Like like I said, I've lied, I've stole, I've scammed, I've done a lot of things. But here you see me today. Who you see before you today is authentic as possible. Like I had a show with a young lady, and we were talking yesterday, called Trap Queens, and the word trap stood for true, real, authentic, powerful queens, and I spelled queens with a K. And we were talking about how we're going to come back, um, come back together and share with you guys, our journey from 2020 up until 2025. We've always stayed in contact. I've done her taxes for a number of years now. We've had our moments of falling out. Um, what basically like going disconnecting just to reconnect. Sometimes she loves to say that sometimes you have to disconnect to reconnect, and that's true because I didn't have the mindset that I have in 2020 that I have now. I tapped into, spirituality. That was just a stepping stone. But who you see before you today is a 38-year-old woman, a sexual abuse survivor, bipolar disorder, female, that's going to take the world by storm. I get goosebumps when I say that this is my year. Be you, be heard, be real, be unfiltered, be authentic, be unapologetically yourself. It's going to be a lot of people that think you crazy because you're speaking things into existence. Let them think that, because those same people, listen, are going to brag to others about, man, I knew she was going to do it. Or they're going to just have that I knew conversation with somebody, but they were the same ones doubting you. Keep going. I'm talking to myself when I say this. Keep going. It's going to be a household name. And this is from my book. Can I share this with y'all? It's how I became authentic. And this is a true story. Now, some of the words I changed, for um, editing and, purposes, because I'm not the best talker. So this is how I became authentic. For years, I lived behind a mask, one crafted by the expectations of others, societal standards, and the fear of being judged. I was careful, polished, and always striving for perfection, but inside, I was drowning in a sea of suppressed emotions and unspoken truths. It wasn't an overnight transformation. Becoming authentic, real, raw, and unfiltered was a messy process, a peeling back of layers built over time. It began with acknowledging the pain I had buried for so long, the trauma, the self doubt, and insecurities that helped shape my perspective. The turning point came when I stopped running from my struggles and chose to face them head on. Writing, y'all, I used to write there, I mean, poetry too. I'll say that later on in the show, in the season. The turning point came when I stopped running from my struggles and chose to face them head on. Writing became my therapy. Words poured out of me, raw and unrefined, reflecting the thoughts of myself that I had hidden from the world. Sharing my truth felt terrifying at first, but with every story I told, I felt lighter and freer. I realized that being authentic wasn't about perfection, it was about owning my imperfections. It was about speaking from a place of honesty, even when the truth was uncomfortable. It was about showing up in my messiest moments and saying, this is who I am. Listen, Janice Chanel Fields, but I also go by JJ Miss So Fine, ain't I? Through this journey, I found a sense of liberation I never knew existed. People began to connect with me, not the curated version of me, but the real, unfiltered me. And in their connection, I found a new kind of strength, the strength to live unapologetically. I always say that word, to embrace my voice and to inspire others to do the same. Authenticity is a choice I make every day. It's a commitment to showing up, being vulnerable, and allowing myself to be seen. It's messy, but it's real. And it's the most rewarding things I have ever done. And then I give the definition of authentic. Authentic is what you get right here. There's no script. It's not edited. It's just me showing up in my studio. Remember I said I was going to talk about, being in the studio one day. So this is my studio. I'm speaking it into existence. I'm manifesting the things that I want. 2025, next year, 2026, because I started this on January 1. Next year, January 1, 2026, I am going to be in a different place. Different place. I'm just going to be in a different place. Um, what does your authentic what does your authentic self look like? Who do you look like? There is no face, there is no mask, um there's no script to being who you are. Just be you, just show up as you, and I promise you that the world gonna love you. I used to look at people because, being raised Christian, um I used to look at white people that have like the black nail polish and the black clothes and the gothic look. I used to look at them like, ooh, they are scary. But when I had a conversation with one of those people in high school, they are the most free-hearted and free-spirited people that I have ever met. They are some of the most like uplifting and free-spirited people again that I have ever met in my entire life. And that from that day forward, I chose not to like judge those type of people because I find myself liking the color black, loving the color black. I got on a white shirt because I'm feeling godly. You know, I got to try to mix humor with it. But yeah, those black is one of my favorite colors. So I never try to judge a book by its cover because you don't know people's story, you don't know people's backgrounds, you don't know why people act or do what they do. Everybody has a story. Everybody has experienced trauma to some form. Whether you are in a marriage and probably have been cheated on, whether you grew up in an abusive household, whether you, um, just everybody has had some type of or some form of trauma. Being cheated on, that's trauma. That's a traumatic experience. Some people don't talk about it, but it is traumatic because you trusted somebody and they betrayed you with with cheating. So I really like that. Um I hope that today's the power of being real resonates with somebody. I know it will. I'm speaking it into existence that it will be good for you to come and tell your story. Be real, be honest, be you. Everybody else is already taken. Be you. Um, like I said, I hope this resonates with somebody. I hope that you could understand how I became who I am and being honest, being real. And I'll dive more into that as time goes on. But this is just I just wanted to get on here, briefly and tell y'all a little backstory of how Janice became Janice, how Janice became honest, how Janice became unfiltered, raw, gritty, her, how I became me. Um, I think that's it, y'all. I'm open to your comments. You could also always catch me at I am JJJAYJMSSOFINE at gmail.com. You could write me, talk about some stuff that you guys want to, I'm sorry, suggest some things that you guys want me to talk about, and I'll elaborate. If I don't know something, I don't mind researching it. And even if I don't understand after I research it, I'm gonna let you know because that's how honest I am. Um, sometimes when I'm at work, because I work at a call center, but when I'm at work and I'm walking through the hallways going to the bathroom, I always say, hey, welcome to the stage. This your girl JJ been so fine, ain't I? Like I start speaking that into existence. I always picture the call center as a place of me walking onto a set, walking onto stage, walking onto um to a business meeting, me signing my contracts. I speak that into existence because y'all, anything that has to do with like podcasts, man, I sit there, I love it. I just love anything that has to do with how people got to where they are. I'm always intrigued by how people just became, somebody, how they was able to become, millionaires. My mom always worked. My mom has always worked since I've known and been alive. I remember going to me, my brother, my sister. My mom didn't have a babysitter. Um, she would have to take us to work with her at Burger King right here in Ocala. And we knew better. We would just sit there on her full 8 hour shift. Like, so I just speak things into existence now. Y'all gonna see me one day. Everybody gonna see me one day. And it's gonna be a little girl that's gonna be like I could do that. I could be her. Y'all, my stomach growling. I don't see how y'all don't hear it. But my baby girl, my oldest daughter, bought me the Miss So Fine because I go by that name. Miss So Fine. Always own your shit. Always pop your shit. Even when you feel like you're not the shit, you are the shit. There's somebody that loves you out there for you. I hope that this, again, I hope I kept everything together to flow together. Be you. Don't show up as nobody else. Don't show up to an interview trying to be somebody else, being something that you're not, because sometimes the interviewer can see right through that. They want to see you. They want to know who you are. Be you. Everybody else is already taken. It's power in being real. And people going to start praising you for your authenticity. So if you ever want to get in contact with me, I just left my contact information. I thank y'all for tuning in today. Authenticity, authenticity. What does it look like for you? What does it mean to you? Think about it. I'm always one email away. Till next time, love, peace, and light. JJ signing off.